So, a lot of remote team building just doesn't work. Our employees see the invites and then roll their eyes and check out before the invites ever or the event has even started. So, to make matters worse, we in HR were never trained for this. This is a side task for us. So, today we will have perspective and great ideas for you on how to plan and host events for your virtual teams. And before we dive in, Confetti has sponsored today's episode. Confetti is an all-in-one platform that helps companies build stronger team cultures. They're making it easier for anyone, including us in HR, to discover, plan, and host great events for our virtual teams. They can handle all the logistics too, which is super great, from the invites to having professional hosts, so we can focus on having fun. That's coming up now. Hi there, I'm Andrea Adams. This is the HR Hub, and on the show we talk about anything related to HR. I encourage you to subscribe to the show or to the podcast to learn from my fantastic guests. So today I'm happy to have Lee Rubin as my guest. Lee's the co-founder of Confetti. She decided to start Confetti after she, like so many of us, was tasked with planning an event for her team. Confetti's work with so many companies, including Google, Spotify, Microsoft, and they've reached, at this point, well over 2 million participants. And along the way, Lee has won some pretty prestigious awards, including making Inc. magazine's top 200 female founders list. And a lot more than that, actually. But hi, Lee, how are you?
Hey, Andrea. So good. Thank you so much for having me. I feel like I have a little bit of that celebrity stardom kind of like, oh my God.
You have a little bit of that. I feel like I have a little bit of that. You've done some really awesome things. Like, good on you.
Aw.
It's inspirational for us females.
Yeah, I love this woman supporting woman kind of culture. We're already putting into the first minute of this call.
Well, yeah. And I mean, in all reality, I think we do need to do more of that. But that is not what we are here to discuss today. We're going to
True.
talk about virtual team building and some of the games and things that we can do with them that is going to bring them closer, but is not going to be lame. Hopefully not lame. So just to set the groundwork, can you summarize some of the challenges of running remote teams where games and events can actually help? And do you have any evidence to support that they actually help? And then if you
Yeah.
have time, then add on to that when it won't help.
So I think the first thing that's worthwhile mentioning is just the challenges of also running like remote teams and like where games and events help, right? So one of the key challenges that companies face is like there's especially remote teams or teams that don't always go to the office as much, is that there's this loss of this informal connection, right? That you don't have
Mhm.
these hallway chats, and that really kind of creates a weaker interpersonal trust because we need those intentional and even or informal moments to build relationships. But with remote work, you don't have hallways, right? As soon as you log off of this meeting, like you're in your kitchen, you're with your cats and your dogs or whatever else. So it needs to be a lot more intentional. The
Mhm.
other big thing that I think happens is that there's just a general communication friction where like I'm sure you guys can are familiar with this, but like we're kind of digitized out. There's like all kinds of concepts like Zoom fatigue, but
Mhm.
like we've all received like a digital message that we were like, I don't really know what the tone of that was. And then you jump on the call and you're like, oh, that was perfectly fine and normal and reasonable and everything was great.
Yep.
But all of this digital connections sometimes I think creates that friction in a communication. And between that and the isolation and the disengagement and like fragmented culture, when you have like let's say a remote work, you don't necessarily have the shared values or rituals. Maybe you also have a very diverse team with different cultural upbringings. There's just so many things that can be a challenge to HR when it comes to like running remote teams. So, where games and events help, in my opinion, and through science. So, one of them is that these intentional games they create these structured social touch points that often replace lost and informal moments. And what we found through different
Mm.
case studies is like the best type of experiences are the ones that are just pure fun, People don't talk about work. And like that really helps boost the team trust, right? Where you're getting
Mhm.
measurable improvements in collaboration and psychological safety. But it also
Mhm.
just helps improve morale and reduce burnout
Mhm.
and hopefully accelerate onboarding if you're trying to connect new hires with their existing team quickly. It helps enhance cross team connection when orgs are feeling siloed. And I know your question was packed, so I'm going to pause for a second. But
Yeah.
am I heading in the right direction
Yeah,
of
no, you
where?
totally are. So when, like, are we just gonna make matters worse by using a planned game or event?
Events aren't going to help if you have like compensation problems, right? You events can't
Oh,
fix pay inequity, right?
yeah.
Events won't help with toxic culture. Like a fun event does not override psychological unsafety.
Mm,
It doesn't override poor management and compensating for really bad leadership habits. It doesn't help with severe workload issues. And actually, in many cases, that's one of the big friction points. People might even not enjoy the game if they feel overwhelmed or if they don't have permission to, truly log out and disconnect and have like proper time off. So there's like a lot of reasons where events won't help. I
mhm,
sometimes have, though, like I have, it won't fix toxic culture, which is one of the things that I said. But I think sometimes people think somebody that they work with is bad. And maybe
mhm.
they're not bad, they're just misunderstood. And I do think that events actually can be a little helpful for that because if you
Yes.
have an event where you're just laughing with someone, or maybe you have a boss that you thought was a jerk, or I don't know, whatever that situation is, and now you're on a team with them, you're laughing with them, you're seeing a new personality. Maybe you even saw their kids in the Zoom call and they just become a little bit more human to you.
Mhm,
That's, I think, sometimes the power of what a good event can do. It can really
mhm.
humanize us. And then that sense of laughter and joy can be like, actually, this person might not be as bad as I thought that they were.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. I now remember my other question. You had referred to
Yay.
the ability for these events and games like this to improve psychological safety. Under what conditions would they do that? Because like not any game is going to help build psychological safety.
Look, the way that I see it is like, this is the evidence that I do know by heart. Gallup has done research that says employees with a best friend at work are 7 times more engaged.
Mhm.
MIT HR studies said teams with high relational trust perform 30 to 50% better. And
Mhm.
then Microsoft 2023 Work Trend Index said intentional social time reduces burnout by up to 30%. So
Oh.
there's a lot of things that are relating to, engagement, trust, and performance, and reduction of burnout. And the combination of that can uh, obviously improve like the team. And
Mhm.
I think, again,
Mhm.
going back to what I was kind of starting to say earlier on like psychological safety is like, it all kind of comes into that same vision around the manager. If you don't have a good relationship with your manager and now all of a sudden there's 60 minutes where you're able to kind of see each other in a different
Mhm.
perspective, that can help improve the psychological safety because you're like, oh wait, this
Mhm.
person isn't what I thought that they were. Like, I
Mhm.
learned something about them, or like, they're
Mhm.
actually kind of nice. They're actually kind of funny. I don't know, whatever that thing is that might give you the courage to actually speak up a little bit more in your next one on one with them. It might humanize them a little bit more so you can, again, have a real
Mhm.
conversation with them. That's where I think it's like, have you ever, like have like with your like a significant other, like have you ever maybe been like gone on a date and then that date helps you finally like open up or talk about something that maybe you guys haven't had the time and the space to do so? Like I like to kind of sometimes
Mhm.
compare the business
Yeah.
world and like the
Yeah.
personal world and I see a lot of
Yeah.
like overlap.
Yeah, of course. Of course. Uh, so okay. For all those people at home who are thinking, "Geez, I hate these games." They're
Yes.
always so dumb. It kind of reminds you of like the dumb icebreakers, for example. Anyways, can you give me some examples of games that might actually be fun?
Yes. And like look, I think what can be fun for some cultures might not be so fun for others. And like, you know
Yes.
your team best. But I will say, I think a lot of the time that people complain about things that aren't fun, what I've seen is that it's like, the HR team with good intention, right? Like, but
Right.
they aren't necessarily professional entertainers. And
No.
they like, like tape and glue gun together their own little experience in order to save money. And the team's like, oh, okay, there's this awkward beginning. Like it's just not a professionally curated event.
Mhm.
And I think it can go a really long way when you do have the right professionals in place. But
Mhm.
so yeah, the talking like in terms of like are the games actually fun? Yes, but it's only when it's done well, and not all virtual
Mm.
games are created equal. And fun really comes from the design and the facilitation and not just the concept of the experience itself.
Right.
So examples of like ones at least on our platform that I'm like, you have to do this, you're going to have a great time. We have one that is like our murder mystery event. It's immersive theater. It's such an amazing experience because you have 5 real actors on the call with you, and, there's a murder, and one of the actors is the murderer, and your team is the investigators, and, you're in your Zoom rooms, the actors rotate amongst the different rooms, sometimes there's more than 5 characters for even larger groups, and they stay in character, and it requires like real thought, and it's just such a special experience that you leave being like, I was like in a movie, like I completely lost track of time. This was so fun. We have a coworker clash, which is um like a survey style, like people, it's most familiar to like a Family Feud-esque style
Okay.
game. People laugh, have a great time. It's our number one bestseller. It's super affordable. It's great for
Mhm.
small teams, like just to get people laughing.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's you can't mess with those two.
Okay, both of those actually sound fun. I did, one time I went to an improv work event. I
Yeah,
had such a like, that was so fun, and it sounds somewhat similar. Anyway, so how do you actually make a game fun and engaging when they aren't in person? Like, I talk about
yeah.
that improv event I went to, that was in person. Like, how are you making
Well,
it
think
fun
about
when people are
what
still sitting at their computer?
what do you remember from your improv event? What made it great?
It was interesting, unexpected, actually, just the things that they made us do that it was unexpected, even though it was improv, which is to expect the unexpected, it was still
Yeah.
even more unexpected, so that was fun.
What did it generate like laughter? Was that were you guys
Yeah, it generated laughter, but it wasn't just that, it also generated insight. So
okay?
you're just gonna get me to tell you what all the things are. That's a good strategy, but, that was some of it.
Yeah, I mean, what you probably remember is like there was an expert facilitator, right? And
Yes,
the
that's true.
facilitator is a huge factor. I mean,
Okay.
number one factor is the facilitator. They keep energy up, they engage
Mhm.
quiet participants, but you also need a high quality design. I mean, like one of the things that I think is a strength with Confetti is like we've run our events literally thousands of times, okay?
Yes.
And what that has allowed us to do, this isn't like the first event we're running where we're learning, the quality of the design, the pacing, the unpredictability, the quiet moments. No, we've balanced all that out, and so because we've done it so many times that
Mhm.
these events have been perfected. And a lot
Mhm.
of people, again, with good intention, a lot of HR folks, they do it themselves, but there's a risk because you're doing it for the first time. So you don't know what you don't know until you do it. And then you're like, oh
Mhm.
my gosh, that event flopped.
Right.
Um, so yeah, expert facilitation, high quality design, ideally inclusivity, right? If you can try to get the games accessible to multiple backgrounds, introverts, global teams.
Oh,
You need to have tech that's seamless, no clunky tools, no long instruction cycles, no downloading ideally. And then humor, which you brought up, right? Maybe some light competition,
yeah.
all of that kind of helps and turns into making an experience especially great for teams.
Hmm. Well, you've almost answered one of the questions I was going to ask. I probably will still ask it, but not quite yet. Uh, so also I said at the beginning, people roll their eyes when they're going to be invited to a mandatory event, but they do complain. I
Yeah.
have complained. Uh, and even recently I did an episode and someone it was about engagement and someone was complaining about forced engagement.
Yeah.
So how can HR prevent games and events from becoming another onerous obligation that people have to participate in?
Uh, so look, I have a lot of mixed feelings about this. So I'll
Mhm.
share my like HR kind of more friendly position, and then I'll share my like more hot take position.
Okay, all right, go for
Um,
it.
So I do think that in many cases, HR should try to make events opt in when possible, right? And that autonomy really increases enjoyment. Having more events, more opportunities to join across multiple teams, multiple departments. That way you can kind of choose your own adventure and say, hey, this month we're doing yoga. You don't feel comfortable doing yoga with your team? No problem. Next week, we're doing a whiskey tasting. Don't like whiskey? No problem. The week after that, we're doing a cookie decorating, like keeping the quantity and the options alive. That way people can opt into what they resonate with. I
Time
think the
out.
other
Time out
thing,
for a moment.
yeah,
How do you do a whiskey tasting?
how do you do a whiskey tasting? So we handle everything. All we need is addresses. We ship everybody a kit
Oh
with
my
little
god.
samples of whiskey or tequila or mixology if you want to learn how to make
Or or or
cocktails or
or
mocktails.
cookie ingredients?
Or cookie ingredients. Oh my gosh, I have a cookie box right here. It's amazing. You get all the cookies, all the frostings, all the sprinkles. You can do buttercream. You can do royal ice cream. There's options. And by the way, those kits are really great for introverts, just as an example, because they don't really have to socialize that much. They get a little gift in the mail and they get to enjoy that. And there are little bits of interactivity and communication that are done through the event, but it's much softer and guided than like a game, for example, where everybody's like very hands on and
Mhm.
engaged the full time.
But I had interrupted you in answering your, the
Yeah,
obligatory participation. You hadn't got
all
to the hot
good.
take part.
I have not gotten to the hot take part, but I do think that, the key strategies that HR should use is they can, try to make these opt in. They should
Mhm.
really explain the why, right? They need to
Okay,
tie the
yes.
event to the team bonding, but not to like this like corporate obligation, which we'll talk a little bit more about. And I think that, there should be opportunities to just keep it short and frequent rather than long and rare. And this kind of reduces the pressure. And you, again, need to choose actually fun, high quality activities, not these like do it yourself little silly Zoom games and like hope and pray that the team just figures it out and has a great time.
Mhm.
So that's like all the things that I think that they should use. My little hot take is that yes, forced fun at work is can be, not great for people, but I really think that participating in team building activities is part of your role, right? And
Mhm.
the company should appreciate employees' engagement and by making sure that it's not just an invitation, but it's also an invitation to take time off and they also need to extend that understanding that not every activity appeals to everybody, but the involvement in general in company events is an expectation of everybody's position.
Mhm.
It's a line item on a balance sheet, right? They're investing in this. They're investing in it. Every line item in every business has a reason why they're investing in it. It's because they know that if they invest in team building, they're going to support culture and collaboration. And those activities are intended to help be the vehicle to make that happen.
Yeah. I've done quite a number of episodes on remote and hybrid work, and the word that comes up over and over and over again is intentional. Being
Absolutely.
intentional about creating relationships with other people. But this isn't just a one-sided thing where it's the organization's job to be intentional, the employees participating if they want the privilege of working in a remote environment, they have to take the opportunities to be intentional about relationships.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
like, look, I mean, my little hot take is like, As long as you're being paid for the time that you're there, it's kind of in the cards, right? Like I don't always appreciate when companies are like, "Okay, we think that this is important, but we're only willing to do this at 7 p.m. when you're out of work hours." Like,
Mhm,
no. If it's that important to you, do it during work hours. Make
mhm,
sure that your intercom and emails are off. Let people really give them the green light to disconnect and participate.
mhm.
Yeah.
So you've talked, well, before you talked, like in the pre-conversation when you and I talked in advance, you talked about short games and long games, and you've referred to them here as well. When is a long game appropriate? When is a short game appropriate?
Short games are great when you want like it's for your day-to-day usage, right? A little, I know it seems like you have some not great experiences with it, but an icebreaker before a meeting, right?
Well, it could be
Where
the icebreakers, sometimes they're okay. Sometimes
they're
they're
right there,
hilarious.
right? So exactly, when you need a quick energy, you need creativity, you need like the social warm up. Short games are also great during time periods where teams are really busy or across
Mm,
distributed time zones. But short games are great when you're building a regular cultural rhythm, which I'm very bullish about. Like, it's so important that these
mm,
are weekly touch points with your
mhm,
team.
mhm,
The long games, those 45, 90-minute games, these are important when you want like more deep immersive bonding moments. Where this is really great for teams that rarely get together, where you want to make it special, where you're celebrating a milestone, where you're doing like
mm,
a quarterly offsite.
mhm,
And the benefit of these longer games is really kind of, more time to create more shared stories and memories that stick. Although I do think that those shorter games have just as much value. Um, but yeah, it's when you really want to be like, hey, something special happened that we want to take a moment for. And
mhm,
I'll just say one last thing. I always talk about there's three core levels of culture. You have your team culture, you have your departmental culture, and you have your company wide culture. And in an ideal world, you should have multiple touch points throughout the year where you flux between team, departmental, and company wide.
mhm,
And if you had a very luxe budget, you would say, okay, once a month we're having the team come together. The next month we're getting the department together. The month after that, we're getting the company wide. But not every company has that. And so most companies are on a quarterly kind of opportunity with their events. And so you need to decide. We believe that your team is the most important cultural interface that your organization has. Your team dynamics is what gets an employee to stay in an organization or leave. So that's where we recommend you to invest your dollars in. So giving teams the opportunity to know exactly what budget they have, where they can go to spend it, what they
mhm,
can do easily, and ideally having at least two touch points a year for for those teams, those intimate 5, 10 person teams to be like,
mm,
you know what? We've worked together all year long. We just want to have fun for, like often those are where your work besties are at. It's in your little team, the ones that you
mhm,
work strongly with.
mhm. So we were talking about long games and short games, and I know you're a big advocate for facilitators. By the way, do you only facilitate online, or can people get help facilitating in person as well?
We currently really only have virtual facilitation. So like
Right.
our facilitators will join on Zoom, but in person is still an option, just that the facilitator will still be logging in from Zoom.
Okay. There surely are people out there that they do want they do have to do the events themselves. They can't afford a facilitator. They're not going to get approved. It's been landed on their desk.
Yeah.
What advice do you have, including an idea for them that would help them with their internal event that they have to host themselves?
So look, we have a whole engagement suite and it's 150 plus manager friendly toolkits that are for the folks that are like, look, I mean, we still encourage the hosted experiences, but the kind of more do it yourself, host it yourself style events are great for those week to week uh type of, opportunities. I would say that the difference though is at least us as professionals, we're curating the content. That
Hmm.
way you can make sure that the content itself is good enough to provoke some kind of, belongingness, fun, recognition,
Mm.
productivity, whatever that kind of
Yes.
four.
Yeah.
We have like four critical drivers for what we consider a good event.
Hmm.
So we want every meeting to produce that. And I mean, I really think that they should just get creative with it. There's so many like fun things to do. And, like you can do like a Wordle of experience, like you can do little bursts of trivia, you can find fun
Mm.
icebreaker questions. You can get really creative with it. It doesn't have to be something stale and boring, but it does have to be intentional.
Intentional, the magic word when it comes to remote and hybrid work. We've talked a lot about what kind of support Confetti offers, but is there anything to add? And where can they find out more?
Yeah, I mean, well, we offer turnkey experiences with professional facilitations. We also have an engagement suite, as I mentioned, for the folks that are looking to do it yourself. We really pride ourselves on that zero admin onboarding. Really, HR just finds the experience that they want, they book it, events for all occasions. You can find us at withconfetti.com. Please, please, please connect with me on LinkedIn. I love just connecting with our community. And our blog has really great different like thought leadership and resources.
Mm.
And we would love to be helpful to the broader HR community. And Andre, thank you so much for having me.
Well, thank you. And actually, I even checked out your blog, and it actually is quite good. There you go. There's some validation for you. Well, thanks, Lee, and thanks, Confetti, for allowing this conversation and giving us some insights into what it takes to have a great event. I know that even if I ever have to, plan another game or event, that I will think about it differently now. If you want to explore what Confetti has to offer, they have given a special code for HR Hub listeners. See the show notes for that. But we have reached the end of this episode. Thanks for watching out there. We'll see you next time when I talk with another amazing guest.